Thank you very much, Joy, for the business package. Next for us now, we'll take a look at the front pages of some of today's newspapers in our review segment.
All right, our regular newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoyibi, is off, and it's a pleasure to have with us again our senior colleague, that's Omini Oden. Omini Oden, it's good to have you, and good to know that you're going to be here with us for some time.
Good to be back. So Bayo Atoyibi hasn't defected, and then just be away for some weeks.
Seriously.
So we have our super sub,
Nigeria.
super sub, Omini Oden. Let's take a look at the front pages of the papers, and the lead story in virtually all of them. The lead stories are all tied to politics, and most essentially the faction taking place in the various political parties. Let's begin with the Punch newspaper. The Punch says, Autumn defects to PDP. APC says governor's action surprising. And that comes with a rider, defections. Buhari meets APC senators. And you can see the two photographs there, on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Those photographs showing the Benue youths who prevented the governor from attending a meeting with the APC national leadership on Wednesday. That's where they said they were compelling him to the camp. So that's the lead story for the Punch newspaper. Also for the Daily Sun. Daily Sun newspaper says Buhari and APC senators meet as more defections loom. With a rider, Governor Autumn joins PDP and other governors, lawmakers to follow. And for the Nigerian pilot, it's confusion in Benue. As angry youths force Governor Autumn out of APC, stop his Abuja trip to meet APC leaders, and formally decamps to PDP. His defection, somewhat surprising again, that's according to the APC.
All right, of course, Kingsley, it's obvious that almost all the papers are awash with the same story, leading with the same story, and of course have similar stories across all the papers. But just as you read, it's also the same story that's leading on the Authority newspaper. It says, at last, Autumn, 13 local government chairmen in Benue State dump APC for PDP. Party welcomes him, urges others to return home. APC moves to halt further defection. And also, it's the same on the Nigerian Tribune. It says, APC surprised as Autumn returns to PDP. How youths stopped his convoy, removed APC flag from official vehicle as Buhari meets APC senators. Of course, that same picture story is what you have, what you had in the other paper is what you also have here on the Nigerian Tribune. But then, just yesterday also too, the president of Benin Republic was at the State House. It's on the Authority newspaper. That's a picture story of the Authority newspaper. That's President Muhammadu Buhari with the visiting Benin Republic president yesterday in Abuja at the State House. But also, let's go to the New Telegraph. On the New Telegraph, of course, I would like to, it's the same story on defection, but then I like to take the story that is above the nameplate. It says, Ngige Des Oshomole, I am not afraid of suspension. Ngige Des Oshomole says, I am not afraid of suspension. And it's on the Authority newspaper too. It's above the nameplate. It says, suspend me if you can. Ngige Des Oshomole. It's a story that's on page 12 of the Authority newspaper. On the Authority newspaper, it's above the nameplate. It says, suspend me if you can. Ngige Des Oshomole. All right, Omini, let's begin with, of course, the defection story that has been running for about 2 days now. And of course, the Ngige Oshomole issue that has also been trending for some days now.
Well, it's just about I want to say that what is trending in the papers today is what we would describe in journalism as developing story. The story has been defection. We see every angle of as the day progressed. The biggest one is the fact that Governor Samuel Autumn yesterday he moved out of APC before to no party, And yet, by yesterday, he has now formally moved from APC to PDP. He had said earlier that he would take a decision on what to do, but discussions have been going on between himself and APC. That's why APC expressed surprise that they are not even done with the discussions, shifting grounds, and giving way to each other on what to be done, and he has taken the decision. Close to it is one of the papers that they call it confusion in Benue State. Is the fact that that paper said youths force Otom out of APC. The fact remains that the action it took before, how are we sure by the end of today Governor Otom will not revert back to APC? Because he made a move before. Now the paper said he has been forced out of, meaning by the interpretation of that paper, he has not left the party. He was forced out. If you're forced out of an action, into taking an action, it means you were not willing to do that. So if APC sustains, if you follow APC's reaction by Bolaji Abdullahi, he says discussions are on. Same for Senate leader. He has talked about the fact that, like Mr. President said, he will work with all defectors. It is democracy. Discussions are ongoing. And Senate leader has talked about the fact that if the discussions are sustained, there's a likelihood that those who defected might return. Or if not all of them, some might return. So that is a developing story. And today, the papers now have a place to go to every other day. By tomorrow, we'll see another angle to it. So today is Otom. Who knows if Otom will not revert tomorrow? Because one of the people said he was forced out of the party. Please.
All right. Well, are you seeking my opinion? You are the analyst. Our business is to, but as you indicated, I mean, this is a running story, and so there will be many perspectives to it as the days go by. But clearly, what's happening is that this is a very busy season for the managers of the various political parties. I'm sure there's a story that we also read.
Someone said there's a very big similarity between 2014 and 2018. 2014 into 2015 elections, and 2018 into 2019 general elections.
That's right. As I was indicating, it's a very busy season. The lead story for Daily Sun, for instance, says, look, Buhari, APC senators meet as more defections loom. The president has been, all week, he's been having the series of meetings and engagements. So this is something that is particularly, very, very significant ahead of the elections. The primaries are just around the corner from what we have said. Now let's return to the Punch newspaper to take a look at other headlines. Some of them my colleague has already read, but very quickly, let me take this. Above the nameplate of the Punch newspaper, NICOM, that's the National Insurance Commission, raises insurance firms' capital base to 15 billion naira. Details on page 23. And then offer robberies, that's the kicker. Again, Saraki writes Inspector General of Police, denies link with suspects, page 10. Police rearraign Melaye for obstruction and attempted suicide. That's page 12. And then the story also of the face-off between the APC party chairman and the Minister of Labour and Employment is also reported there. NSITF board, Oshomole talking out of ignorance, says Ngige. That's on page 43. And then, right, at the foot of the front page, but above the strip advert on that, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, assault. There was an incident that took place in Imo. It says, assault, magistrate and registrar reports, indicted police, says Imo NBA chair. We are not involved in negotiation for Dapchi girls' release. That's according to the ICRC. That's the Red Cross. And Bochi lawmaker Tuko dumps APC, page 13. Rhoda.
All right, let's quickly now move over to the Authority newspaper. Of course, same stories that you read earlier is also trending. NIM registers 31 million Nigerians for NIN. And of course, I read the other story earlier. But then 130,000 teenagers died from AIDS in 2018, according to UNICEF. And also Nigerians in diaspora remitted 22 billion naira in 2017, says SGF. Now let's go to the bottom of the paper. You have there, Southern, that's 2019, Southern Middle Belt elders ask National Assembly to cancel voter registration. It's on page 3. And over 200 policemen laid siege to my house, says Ekori Madu. And Anglican Bishop seeks to end to sue caste system in South East. All right, Omenio, then let's look at of course, you said the president is wading into the issue between Ngige and Oshomole.
Well, it's interesting to say that we like call it a feud or disagreement between the APC chairman and the Minister of Labour and Employment. I would describe it simply as a case of two brothers, a case of husband and wife, a family issue taken to the marketplace. It's high time maybe the party elders waiting to enable them shit sword on this, because it's not necessary. The rules are there on who does what and how. It has not reached where they will take it to the page of the newspaper. It should be intervened so that it is nipped in the bud. The Nigerian Police Force has come up with the directive that the law must take its course on the forced invitation to the Senate President. That no matter what he has said, Senate President has said that he has seen the letter of invitation and he has responded to all the issues, speaking through his media aides, that all the issues that is being questioned on, he has replied them by writing to the IG, and this amounts to a response and compliance with that order. But police say that he's been invited to appear and they will use all force within the law to bring him to appear. That is that aspect of it. The other story is, there are a lot of political stories, I must say, and that's why I say the bunch of papers today are loaded with developing stories, every angle to it. But the one that very, very important, I must say, is that Oshomole's saga with Ngige is a family thing. It's high time they nip it in the bud and don't bring it to the marketplace.
Yeah, the information minister said that much yesterday while he was briefing State House correspondents at the end of the Federal Executive Council meeting, and that it was an issue that will be resolved.
Exactly,
yes. I think the specifics are...
Then the other story, which is not, but I would need to just talk about it, is somewhere talked around one of the papers. The fact that tomorrow, because I was thinking maybe I'll be lucky to have Kiran Umar here, because this is tough. That by tomorrow, between the hours of 6:44 p.m. to 9:21 p.m., there's what we call the much expected total lunar eclipse, aka blood moon, will be experienced in parts of Nigeria, but it will be fully seen in Lagos State. So, and I think the Nigerian Space Agency should have to educate Nigerians so that people don't panic, because they say the moon, instead of looking whitish, this time will look brownish. Brownish.
That's right. Yeah, I think Kieran already did a report on that on the network news a couple of days ago. And,
yes.
But
you know, I'm sure he would update us.
Value system, people need to be updated.
No, he will. Kieran would update us, I think, today, tomorrow, on the network news or across the bulletins. We'll get stories.
He would do that.
He would do that.
And incidentally, while you're just talking about Lagos, on the program some weeks ago, there was a report of the impending closure of the Third Mainland Bridge, for assessment for repairs.
Yes.
With effect from, originally it was to be with effect from tomorrow, Friday.
I was talking about the fact that for the Apapa Grid lock
No, just a minute, please. Okay. I was talking about the Third Mainland Bridge. The Third Mainland Bridge was supposed to be closed from tomorrow. It's now been postponed to sometime in August, July 24th.
He has commended that effort by the government, but he has said that government should go further to address the Apapa Grid lock. That if the other ports in other states of the Federation are not revived, Apapa Gridlock will not come to an end. That one way to stop Apapa Gridlock is to ensure that dormant ports, we have so many dormant ports in Nigeria that are not functional, should be reactivated so that the traffic and pressure on Lagos will be reduced.
That's right. Incidentally, that's, again, guests also talked about that on Good Morning Nigeria. Very quickly, let's return to the Daily Sun newspaper. Daily Sun newspaper, I will take 3 headlines from there. Beside the photograph on the front page of the Daily Sun, 3 headlines. Well, let's take 2. Lawyers sue President and AGF. AGF stands for Attorney General of the Federation over Executive Order 6. That's on page 11. El-Rufai converts Hunkuyu's plot to Children's Park. Hunkuyu is a senator from Kaduna State and one of those who was defected from the APC to PDP. His house was flattened some months ago by the Kaduna State government. So El-Rufai converts Hunkuyu's plot to Children's Park. That's page 43. And then lastly, from the front page there, Air Force University takes off. That's on page 10 of the Daily Sun.
And there was an incident that occurred yesterday in Lagos. It says 5 feared dead. It's on the Nigerian Tribune. It's at the foot of the paper. It says 5 feared dead in Lagos boat accident. It's on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. And also at the foot of the paper, there you see court docs Milaye over attempted suicide. That's on page 34. Omini, let's get your final thoughts.
Well, my final thoughts will be away from what you talked about. One of the papers, as I formally come up, all is not ended yet over stranded Nigerians in Russia. Okay. A release from a Minister of Foreign Affairs speaking through the ministry spokesperson, Dr. Elias, has confirmed that out of 230 stranded Nigerians that were profiled at the point of boarding an Ethiopian airline to Nigeria, 75 have absconded. Only 155 boarded the airline. So that they are still discussing with the Russians, but these ones have been confirmed that they have absconded.
All right,
where did they abscond to? Russia. All right.
Yes, after the World Cup.
That's right. It's summertime now. Let them wait for the
bitter
winter in
you remember the federal government has made that arrangement and got a chartered airline to bring them home.
That's right.
And the Minister of Foreign Affairs was on hand to receive them in Abuja. But the confirmation is that out of 230 profiled in Russia at the point of boarding, 75 were missing. Only 155 boarded.
All right. We hope that they're able to account for that. But whatever, let them remember what happened to Napoleon and his campaign on Moscow. Thank you very much, Omini Oden, for being with us today. Nice to see you. All right. It's Good Morning Nigeria, still on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break now.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria. Today, just as we indicated earlier, we'll continue our conversation on defections and its implication for Nigeria's democracy. We have our guest already seated here in the studio, but of course, to set the tone for our discussion this morning, Abdul Malik Adio has put together this background report.
That was the scene at the Red Chamber of the National Assembly on Tuesday. It was a similar scenario at the Green Chamber.
We, the members of the House of Representatives, sponsored by the All Progressive Congress, APC, wish to notify you of the change of our political party from APC to the People's Democratic Party.
The scenario was not a new phenomenon in the National Assembly, as few individual defections have been witnessed in both chambers in the current assembly. The rowdy session was, however, a defection of 14 senators from the governing APC to the opposition PDP and 36 members of the House of Representatives. It was a mixed grill of emotions, as the action generated discussions with divergent views depending on the side one supports.
No sooner had we formed the government in May 2015 that the party set itself on a course to derail itself. And that derailment continued up until today. And
under the platform of the APC are members of the APC. If they move from the APC to any political party, Mr. Speaker, it is a must that you must declare their seats vacant.
The governing APC dismissed the defection as seasonal and urged its supporters not to lose sleep.
We will go in for the campaign. Check the electoral result. You will find that a lot of those who claim to have the camp, on a good day, the vote they got that makes them members of the Senate. Our president got much more vote in their constituency.
Political watchers, however, say defections may not be new, but they could impact on the democratic process. Despite this development, the APC still maintains the majority in both chambers of the National Assembly and has said it is also expecting members of other political parties in the National Assembly to join them, and also believe that some of the defectors will return as consultations are still on.
Doesn't portend any danger to our party. Not at all. Democracy is not an event, it's a process. You don't take an isolated event and come to a conclusion about that.
With the 2019 general elections around the corner, what are the implications on the recent defections? and its impact on the future of the country's democracy? These are questions yearning for answers on Good Morning Nigeria.
Abdul Malik Adio, thank you very much for that background report. Now we have guests to discuss this subject again. First, we'd like to welcome a now familiar face on Good Morning Nigeria. He is Professor Sareme Osumbo. He's a lawyer, two-time senator, and also former governor of Edo State. Professor Osumbo, pleasure to have you again.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Okay. Also here with us, we have Honorable Hassan Saleh. Hassan Saleh is a member of the House of Representatives, and he represents Ado Ogbadibo Okpoku Federal Constituency in Benue State. And most recently, that's until Tuesday, he was a member of the APC until he changed platforms to the PDP. Honorable Hassan Saleh, pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right.
And also, we're being joined from our Benin Network Center by Dr. Osawaru Okenzua. He's a public affairs analyst, and of course, he's a regular familiar face on Good Morning Nigeria. Doctor, it's good to have you join us again.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
All right, gentlemen, let's begin discussions this way. Of course, it's Kingsley, something we started yesterday.
That's right.
And we're still talking about it today. And of course, I'm aware that we might just be talking about it also tomorrow. But then I don't want to begin with I don't want to begin with you, but we're coming to you because I'd like to know why you defected. But then let's start this way. Is defection synonymous with Nigerian politics? Prof, let's get your views first.
No, certainly not. In Nigeria, they call it defection or decamping or such terms. But in other countries, they cross carpet. There's what is regarded as people crossing carpet, and it happens in many places. Even in the First Republic, we used to have this phenomenon of people crossing carpet. It was done in Western region when the NCSC members crossed carpet to action group. So it has, but now, as you said, it's called defection or decamping. Even though decamping is not really the dictionary, or decampment. You can decamp, but there's nothing like decampee or decampment. Those are peculiar Nigerian terminologies now. So in short, to answer your question directly, it is not peculiar to Nigeria. You may say that the scale of it is quite high in Nigeria, and that is worrisome, particularly for a governing party, because politics and elections is a game of numbers, and nobody would be happy losing numbers. It is numbers that decide whether you win or lose an election. So it's worrying, but I wouldn't want people to panic or be very anxious about what is happening, because it's a phenomenon that we experience in politics. And even in this country, from the National Assembly 1999 to 2003, we also witnessed it at about this point as we were preparing for the 2003 elections. People moving from PDP to other parties because they felt that the space for them within the ruling party at that time had narrowed down, or they were being excluded. It's natural for people to feel free to move to parties where they believe that their political career and fortunes will be better served. So in short, it is not peculiar to Nigeria. It is not peculiar to this administration. It is not something, as from the background information it was saying, in this current National Assembly. It is not peculiar to this current National Assembly. It's been with us from as far back as we can remember.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Osumbo. One of the points Prof made now is to say, listen, there's no peculiarity with regard to defection in the Nigerian political system, but that there would appear to be a worrisome perspective on account of the scale of the defection that we have seen since the advent of the Fourth Republic in 1999. What's your take?
Well, thank you very much. I think, first and foremost, I would like to ride with Professor on the issue that it's not peculiar to Nigeria. And even the heartland of democracy in the world, which is in the United States, if we go down to history, find out that even President Ronald Reagan was a Democrat before he later became a Republican and became president. And even the current President Trump was a Democrat before he became a Republican and became president. Even in their congresses and in the Senate, they've had people moving from being independent or Republican to Democrat and vice versa. I haven't said that. Coming down to what has been happening with regards to cross-carpeting or defection from one party to another in Nigeria since 1999, the reason boils down to simply disagreements at various levels. For instance, in 2015, when the issues were brewing, in PDP, 2015, the party chairman at that time, Bamanga Tukur, probably underestimated the problem, and he allowed about 5 governors and several House of Rep and senators to defect. And it is happening now. For instance, 2 days ago, I defected from APC to PDP. Now, what happened? Why did I defect? It started from my own federal constituency, my own ward, in a situation where congresses, because in a situation where congresses are not held, people are not allowed to participate, in the political process. Of course, it will lead to acrimony. People will get upset and they become irrational, So what has happened in the APC, or what is causing this right now, is that the processes have been breached ab initio.
Which processes?
Process of electing members of, the ESCOs of the party. Because if you go to section 223 of the Nigerian Constitution, where it specifically provided that political parties must democratically elect members into their ESCOs at various levels, from what to the National Convention or the national offices. And it never happened. For instance, in Benue, where I come from, there were no congresses. You can go and run a check. There were no congresses in the entire state. People decided to pocket the party. They personalized this party. So where there are no room for people to participate in the process, of course they want to seek avenue elsewhere. I can't force you to be my friend, and you cannot force me to be your friend. So it appears that certain people in the APC today believe that the party belongs to them, and they will have to do whatever they like and dish out whatever they want to dish out to anybody. So that's the problem we are facing today.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Hassan Saleh. Let's get the views of Dr. Okunzuwa, who's in Benin. Dr. Okunzuwa, you've listened to Professor Sarime Osumbo and, of course, Honorable Hassan Saleh. One thing that that has been raised in their opening statements here is that it's not something that is synonymous with Nigeria, but then the scale that we're seeing now, it's not something that we have seen before. Let's get your take on this.
Well, it depends on who is doing the computation, because the political history of Nigeria has always had its peculiarities. So when comparing with what happens in other climes, we have to be a bit circumspect. The honorable member from Benue State is talked about, you cannot force a person to be your friend, and the other way around. Freedom of association is supposed to be the very basis of political party formation. People who have similar thoughts, people who have similar beliefs, and people who are ready for joint action in a political field are those who are supposed to be in a political party. And if you look at what's been happening in the past 5 years, how people have been moving in large numbers from one camp to the other, you actually find that Nigeria may become a case study unto itself. And if you were to allow me to extend it, I think it's a happy day for our democracy, really, because it means people now have the ability to express themselves without being under the constraints of some other considerations that are incompatible with the tenets of democracy. The only thing we should be talking about, I, for instance, as a citizen, is whether these movements from party A to party B is of any use to the welfare of the people. Because political parties exist in the first instance to aggregate the needs and aspirations of the people, present these needs and views to the electorate during the elections, and hopefully they will get a mandate and they will start pursuing the programs that will aid the welfare of the people. So the movement, for instance, in the governing party is an in-group conflict. And if you also look at the recent history of that same political party, how different legacy parties came together before 2015, you find that they were from different directions. One would have hoped by now that they would have been able to harmonize their different views and then become a kind of monolith. But that has not happened. But there's nothing to be regretted in that instance at all, because where we were in 2014 and 2015 is quite different from where we are today. Different issues are here for us today in the political landscape, and you probably need some additional alignment, a realignment to address some of those issues. So in terms of quantity, well, maybe, but I don't think it's relevant in any sense. What is important is that people can associate and dissociate in such a way that will be compatible to the service of the people and also in furthering their own political careers.
All right, Dr. Okonzuwa, thank you very much. Gentlemen, let's try to examine perhaps the mechanics of defection. The question I will pose to Professor Osumbo. Because when a politician, say a member of the legislature or a governor, who represents a constituency, is moving from one platform to another, one question that comes up is, do the defectors consult their constituencies? Do their constituents give them the go-ahead? I mean, we saw what happened in Benue yesterday, but do their constituents give them the go-ahead? Because occasionally you see the orchestrated ceremonies where they say, oh, I've defected with 5,000, 7,000 of my constituents. Do these constituents really interrogate the reasons for the defection of their leader or of their representative? Professor Osumbo.
Well, first of all, politics is an individual decision. And the Constitution, Section 40, gives every Nigerian, every citizen that liberty to decide to associate or not to associate with anybody, including freedom of assembly. But the conflict or contradiction arises from Section 68 of the Constitution, which, for instance, says that for members of the National Assembly, that you cannot leave your political, you would lose your seat if certain situations arise. And one of the situations is if you were elected on the platform of a political party and then you leave that party, you are supposed to lose your seat, except if that situation has arisen as a result of merger of different political parties, in which case your original party ceases to exist, or if there is a division within your party and you decide to go to a different platform. So those are exceptions. So how do you reconcile your freedom of association, freedom to join or form a political party of your choice in Section 40 of the Constitution with the restrictions in Section 68? That is really at the bottom of all these agitations and conflicts. Now to get to your question directly as to the mechanics of it, how does this thing actually happen? I think it depends on a case. You have to adopt a case-by-case analysis of what happens in this kind of situation. There are places where some political elected people with a large following find themselves being squeezed out of their political party, particularly after congresses, primary congresses have been conducted, as we witnessed recently. So those with large following realizing that some other interests have pulled the rug from under their carpet, as it were, and rendered them powerless within their political party, is almost a spontaneous decision in many cases for people to say, oh, we are no longer wanted in this political party. Some forces, some interests have rendered us useless, insignificant, and new people have been raised to take over the leadership of this party as executives of the party, as delegates, preparatory to the primaries where they would likely pick some other persons other than them. In that kind of situation, everybody sees it, and you don't really need to preach to people. At some other points, it may be individual, personal, you may call it selfish interest, but politics is a matter of interest. So you cannot really say this is what happens in every case. It depends on the individual concerned. It depends on the circumstances of the case. And in some cases, they do consult. When some leaders feel that they have reached a situation where they need to carry their people along, because this is very important in politics, that every political leader must consult with his people. Otherwise, as one politician put it, a leader you are propped up by your supporters. But if your supporters leave you, you find yourself slipping down on a very slippery pole. So in order to ensure that you don't slip down and fall, you must at all times consult and carry your supporters along. And this does happen in some cases.
Honorable Hassan, let's get your thoughts on this. For you personally, is it a case of, is it something that you consulted your constituency about, or is just something like the Professor said now, politics is an individual thing. So when you have a case where you have a large followership and then the rug under your feet is being swept away, then that becomes a personal decision for you to make. For you, is that the case, or it's something that you had to consult your own constituency before you made the move?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I think, first of all, again, I would like to ride with the professor. Well, maybe that's why it's a professor. It's very analytical and all of that. And your colleague also talked about if we consulted. There is no politician what is sought that will operate alone. You have to operate with followers. You have to have people in your constituency, be it at the ward level, or at the local government level, or at the state level. For me, I represent 3 local governments in the Federal House of Representatives. And of course, I have supporters in these 3 local governments. Now, when this issue of congresses started, like the Prof said, you need to start at that rudimentary level where your supporters would want to participate in the process of getting elected into the executive positions at the Congress, at the ward level. Now, in a situation where certain individuals now decide to say, look, I don't want this to happen, because if it does happen, it then means that his influence will be reduced, or the person that he wants to occupy your seat, will not get the chance. Now, they use their position, being the influential people in party, to begin to manipulate the process. And that's exactly what happened in my case, and in the case, or in the cases of all the members of the House of Reps and the senators. I would like to also state here that there were parallel congresses in 24 of the 36 states of the Federation. Parallel congresses, which then means that there are 2 different groups of ESCOs. Now, the party did not resolve that. They did not resolve it, and they went into convention. So, who were those that elected the current national leadership of the party? Because you cannot tell me that there was a unity list. Some of us didn't attend the convention because our delegates were not allowed into the convention ground. So who elected the people that are claiming to be the leaders of the party today? And that is what brought about, the creation of another arm of the party, the RAPC. which is led by Buba Galadima. Therefore, in closing, I would like to say that, yes, I consulted with my constituents, I consulted with my supporters, and of course, for them, some of them would have left a long time. But I kept persuading them that there's room for us to have discussions with the leadership of the party and all of that. But it never happened. So that is the issue.
Okay, Honorable Saleh, thank you very much. Let's return to Dr. Osawaru Kunzua in our Benin Network Center. Dr. Kunzua, back again, let me preface my question by referring to what has been described as the rather worrisome scale of defection that we have seen in the Fourth Republic. That's to say since 1999. You indicated that that shouldn't be a cause for concern. But let's look at it this way. Are supporters of politicians who are the leaders and therefore who jump ship or who change platforms at the slightest provocation or at every political season, are those followers so fickle-minded that they do not interrogate the reasons, why their political leaders are hopping from one platform to another? A number of them have exhausted virtually all the political parties, even though now we have 68. Don't supporters get confused? Today I'm in this party, tomorrow you say we are here. Don't they sit down to just ask questions and say, look, why are we going there? Is it just a matter of bread and butter? Or, again, the question people will say that, look, ultimately, the major challenge we have in this country is one of followership rather than leadership.
Well, taking a bearing from Professor Osumbo right with you in the studio there, you see, our Constitution has not helped issues. Maybe there's a thing to be addressed in the long run. A political scientist once compared our Constitution with some other constitutions in other jurisdictions and found that our Constitution was the most voluminous, but it was also the most riddled with contradictions. Just like talking about freedom of association just now, you say a person can associate with any political party, but he has to lose in seats, except this and this and this and this will happen. In a similar vein, you see that in our Constitution, so much power was given to the political party. And I see here a lot of people talk about the supremacy of the party, the authority of the party, and so on and so forth. But if you look at it very clearly, political parties as entities, as ordinary contraptions, it is the activities of the members of the political party that will confer vitality on the political party. Vitality extending to capacity to win elections, capacity to form governments, capacities to even implement its manifesto. So some people, after hijacking the reins of power at the political level, they begin to show some kind of arrogance. Now, to answer your question in a pointed way, most of Nigerian voters or followers are not as naive as we presume. Because a true leader who has earned the trust of his people, can sway his people in any direction. As a matter of fact, if we're going to take democracy seriously here, you actually find that what a leader stands for is supposed to be an aggregate of his people's aspirations. If I come from a constituency A, for instance, it is the problems of that constituency that should inform what I do if I happen to be a member of National Assembly, or if I happen to be a minister in a cabinet, or if I happen to be the president of Nigeria, for instance, when the whole country becomes my constituency. So if I come back to tell my followers, to say, look, this party you voted me into is no longer going to prove to be of service to us. I need to change. Will you back me? And if they say yes, of course I switch to a new political party. What is always important is, will the people see the fulfillment of their own aspirations in a new political party? That's always the question. So we need to know that any political party, though it enjoys legal privilege, that is going to sponsor people in competition with other political parties, no room for independent candidacy, must be moderated. The language of democracy must be spoken in the political parties themselves. Some of our compatriots have talked about eternal democracy for a very long time, and I don't think they are being heeded and so on. So, coming to the issue of political followers, political leaders, and so on, what is going on now, in my own estimation, would dilute, if not eliminate, arrogance. When the defection of the APC members was announced recently, I actually saw how mournful the Senate leader was. He was very mournful, he was very, very sad, and he was still speaking the language of persuasion. Of course, there are other means of control, there are other means of influence. But if you are talking about democracy, The gold standard is rational persuasion, not even manipulative persuasion. You have to talk to people as equals. You have to tell them why they have to stay here, why you have to do things together. And of course, one would readily contrast that with some other party leader who enjoys very significant hierarchical advantage, who was standing very stentorian, who was standing very combative, who was standing very dismissive, publicly claiming before national television he would not lose any sleep when his party is being purged. So I think what is going on now is just a milestone in the evolution of our democracy. And the political parties are going to be key. When you have democracy in political parties, as the honorable member from Benue has said, you obey the organs of the political party, all the processes are observed, and then when a person is being defeated, he knows he's been defeated by the rules. When a person is won, he knows he's actually gained victory by the rules. Then democracy is enriched. But when you can tell a person, go to hell, whatever is going to happen to you, I don't care. Of course, the person will look for an alternative. So the supremacy of political party has to be balanced with the individual liberty to choose, the individual's freedom of association, freedom of assembly, and so on and so forth. To always remember that it's like minds that will always congregate to form a political party because they have a vision of society. So if a person belongs to a party, you must see him as an asset. And to buttress this even further, there was a political party in recent times who was not even known in the park. But simply because a former head of state associated with that political party is reckoning today. I'm sure we all know this. So we cannot sound dismissive of members of political parties, believing that the political party is already existing, the political party enjoys incumbency or that. It happened 4 years ago. It's happening now. So it's not against any particular person. It is an enrichment of our democracy to know that members of your party must be counted as assets from time to time. You have to deal with them with care. Whenever you want to reason with them, you have to be very persuasive. Tell them how their interests will be served in the current fold, not do things that will even alienate them actively. I think that's the lesson that is being served to all of us. And I think it's a good day for our democracy. It can be a better day yet.
So, Consul, still staying with you. With all of this that is happening and all that we're saying right now, where does this leave political ideology? That's party ideology, especially for the politician, because every party has its own ideology. And of course, you join the party because of its ideology.
Yeah, the more reason if you are a principled politician or leader, the more reason why you have to leave that party as soon as you discover a divergence you cannot reconcile. You know, in terms of ideology, I know our political system, the way it is today, is rather deficient in ideology. Don't forget we're just about 20 years old. This is a new experiment in democracy. Of course, it doesn't justify it, but it serves sufficiently to explain it. You know, most people are deemed to be selfish, but Professor Osumbo has said, yes, that's what politics is about. People set out to join a political party because they have something in view, either the welfare of their people, their own career, they have chosen to be statesmen down the road, and so on. And the political party is a vehicle for it, especially as we don't have independent candidacy in Nigeria. Well, what is at stake here is that members of political parties have to be treated with dignity. You have to listen to them at all times. And of course, even after exhausting, persuading them, they still reserve the right to move to where they want to go to. That is what freedom of association calls for. So I don't think it's going to harm our democracy. As I said much earlier on, is an in-group fighting or in-group conflict. It is the responsibility of the leadership of the party concerned to regroup very quickly, to persuade Nigerians that they still have capacity to govern, and then the benefiting political party also now have to harness its new decampees, form them into a fighting force, and when the election comes in February next year, tell Nigerians why you are a better party, why you believe you should be voted into power, and so on. That is actually at the heart of it. What is going on now is within one political party. It portends no danger to our democracy at all. If anything, I think it enhances it. Because now there is competition. The people who are defecting, senators, are very high caliber citizens. Let us see the kind of resources they will bring to bear on their new political party. Let us see how they will articulate the aspiration of Nigerians better in their new political party. And when it is time, which is a true test of popularity, let us see whether Nigerians will be impressed by the new political party or they will stay with the old one. I think it's as simple as that.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Osawaru Okunzuwa. A number of points that you have raised there. But I'd like to return to our two guests in the studios again, beginning with Professor Osarema Osumbo. Usually, I mean, one of the complaints that we hear about political parties has to do with the absence of internal democracy. Now, some scholars would say that, look, that is merely a symptom. And my question is as follows: a symptom of a malaise. Considering the primacy that the Constitution allocates to political parties in our democracy, why has it been such a challenge for managers of our political parties to engender coherence as well as manageability of the parties in such a way that it's a comfortable platform for not just the key leaders, but also their followers, so we don't find this frequent decampment that we are seeing from time to time? Why has it been difficult for political party managers, to handle our parties?
Well, Kingsley, that is a problem for the managers. It's because the managers have not been able to manage the political parties well. But quite seriously, this can bear repeating over and over again, that we need to deepen internal democracy within the political party system in Nigeria. Without doing that, we may not be able to get it right. I've had occasion to discuss this in NTA here. How do we make our political system deep-rooted? How do we grow it? How do you get the kind of managers who can build the party system in Nigeria to the level that you would, Kingsley, want to see it attain? The question which you asked to Dr. Okunzuwa was about the behavior of the followers in relation to the leaders of the political parties. I think what happens in Nigeria is that more than any other consideration, people want to win elections. So if you want to win, they want to get power. People want to attain political power by any means, because whatever ideology, whatever programs your political party may have, you would not be able to bring it into reality unless you grab power. So people go all out to acquire political power. The followers at the grassroots, at the various levels, look upon certain leaders who understand this game better than them, who have the network, national network, better than them at the grassroots, and they follow these people and do whatever they want them to do, because in their belief, that is the surest way of acquiring political power. So the solution would be, how do you get people that will be statesmen, that will look at Nigeria in 20 years' time, 30 years' time, not necessarily winning the 2019 general election, because that appears to be the preoccupation of Nigerian politicians now. How do we win in 2019? And if it is how you win, then people are looking at, how do we grab power? What do we have to do? Who do we present? How do we scheme out the other group in order that the elections favor us? Unfortunately, that has been the main consideration of Nigerian politicians, not deepening democracy, because that is an ideal. You are in the realm of idealism when you are talking about these things. To them, it sounds idealistic.
We're here and now.
Here and now.
Here and now.
So, again, unfortunately, the nature of our society, particularly the economy, the mass poverty amongst people, many people, not even businesses, depend on government. The businessmen in your state or in the country are looking at who wins the election, because the fortune of their businesses depend on who attains political power. And even the people, because a lot of the money that comes into the hands of the people is through government. So they are following these leaders in the belief that their political, their economic status will be enhanced once they grab political power. So I have always said, or posed the question, to what extent can politics thrive in an economically deprived society? Because so long as there's massive poverty, a lot of what the ideals that we are talking about may just remain theoretical and don't make much meaning to people who are looking at their economic well-being, how to meet some of the basic needs of life. So when these ideas conflict with survivor, people go to survivor rather than idealism in politics.
All right, Honorable Hassan, let's get your take on that. How do we deepen party democracy? And I'd like you to also speak to this issue. There are insinuations that probably some of the people who are defecting are actually moving because probably they might not be able to win their seats, you know, come the next elections. And so the movement is using the powers that they have now, of course, as a bargaining chip in their new party. Is that true?
Well, thank you. You talked about deepening the democracy at the party level. It is only when you have a process being followed religiously. Once there is a democratic process in the selection of people that are manning the various offices in the party, that you will have a good product. Because you cannot build on nothing. The Prof talked about spreading how best we can. People are going about ideology. If you do not have the right persons, people with vision, because you have to have a vision before you even talk about ideology. If you don't have a good vision, you can't have an ideology. If you do not have people that are competent manning the various political party offices and even, political offices in general, who continue in this, vicious cycle. Because as it stands today, the problem we have is leadership. Leadership at various levels, from the national to the local levels. And unfortunately, our electorates are not well informed. And that brings me to the point that we have various civil society organizations as well as even government agencies, just such as the National Orientation Agency. I think our electorates need to be sensitized. If a group of people or a political party comes up with a message, be it an ideology or how they intend to take power to service them more, they should be held to those promises. But like the Prof said, maybe because of desperation for survival, our electorates have thrown all these aspects of governance into the wind. So I think it boils down to the electorate being sensitized as to how party politics and the democratic processes should work. Because if they don't have that knowledge, that they need people with vision to lead them, will continue to run in circles. And that is why we are here where we are today.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Saleh. Very quickly, from Dr. Okunzuwa in Benin, still on this question, how do we account for the failure or otherwise reverse the failure of political party management? All right, unfortunately, there appears to be some audio challenge there with the Benin Center. But let's take the reactions from our viewers that have come by way of tweets. Shitu has this tweet on the defection that have taken place. APC now knows their actual members. Good that Otam has decamped. Hopefully, Kwara and Sokoto governors will soon join.
And Victor Omora says the defection is meaningless. Do you expect the same old faces we have known for the years to all of a sudden develop new ideas? It's all a conspiracy that has failed already.
This is from Sadarawi. It says the effect of the defection is going to be too expensive to concerned members come 2019. Now, but the message, however, this defection is passing across the country shows that it is for selfish consideration.
And this one is from Dele Meji. Says there is a need for strengthening the amendment of our constitution and electoral acts to regulate the alarming rate of defection of politicians in Nigeria. Social reorientation and political education directed towards inculcation of new values and norms in our political arena. Well, those are the tweets that we have now. Want to say at this point a very big thank you to all of our guests who have joined us. Remember, you can still be a part of our conversation if you tweet at us at NTA GMN. And of course, I want to say thank you very much for all the tweets that you're sending every day. Thank you for being a part of our conversation. But at this note, I want to say a very big thank you to all of our guests who have joined us here in our studios and in Benin. First of all, I'd like to thank Professor Osarime Osumbo. He's a former two-time senator and a former governor of Edo State. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And also a very big thank you to Honorable Hassan Saleh. He's a member House of Representatives representing Ado, Ogbadibo and Okpoku Federal Constituency, Benue State. Thank you very much for coming on the program. And it's on that note we want to also say a very, very big thank you to Dr. Osawari Okonzoa, who's a public affairs analyst. It's always our pleasure to have you join us on Good Morning Nigeria. All right, we'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we have a second item for discussion, so stay with us.
All right, you're welcome back. If you've just joined us, it's Good Morning Nigeria. We are reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, more initiatives to contribute towards development in Nigerian youth to be more productive and therefore add their quota to nation building are ongoing.
And that's absolutely right, Kingsley. And this may not be unconnected to the fact that many are realizing that nation building is collective responsibility, hence the efforts from many quarters to do something great.
And indeed, something significant is happening, and that's why we are discussing on our program now. It's a situation that has to do with a workshop for graduates and its outcome. We shall, of course, unfold the contents in the course of this conversation. Would like to welcome at this time Chiduru Okan, is Chief Editor of Iconic Nigeria, organizers of the graduate workshop. He's joining us from our Lagos Network Center. Chiduru, pleasure to have you on the program. And also there with him, you see Andrew Nevin. Andrew Nevin is the one right on the screen now. He's a partner, chief economist, and financial advisor of a financial services advisory leader. Gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria.
So it's our pleasure to welcome Ibrahim Iyanda, who's also, he's a participant. He participated in the graduates workshop. Hello, Ibrahim. Ibrahim is joining us from our Port Harcourt Network Center. Ibrahim, it's good to see you. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here. Good morning.
All right, now let's quickly go to our Lagos Network Center, where we have, of course, the facilitators of the graduate program. Let's begin with Chiduru. What was the reason for this graduate workshop?
Okay, yes, so thank you very much. I'm Chiduru Ochan. I am the chief editor for Iconic Nigeria, and it's a business ranking publication that we started out in 2016. So one of our target audience, or I would say our key target audience, are graduates, especially those looking for jobs, job-seeking graduates, and then, of course, professionals. And while working on this publication, I've become quite very aware of the unemployment challenges in Nigeria, particularly as it affects graduates. And when you do your research, you find out that there are two main reasons for this. Obviously, one is to do with our economy. Being able to strengthen the economy would help with job creation, which would lead to employment. But quite interesting when you speak to recruiters and professionals, what they would say is that even for the jobs that are available, it's very difficult to find graduates that are meeting up to the standards. So, for example, you might interview 100 graduates for a particular position, And you'll not even be able to find one or two to fit into that position. So we are talking about the quality of graduates. So really, these are the reasons why Iconic Nigeria started out this workshop, the graduate workshop. And it's creating a platform for mentoring and networking. And it's particularly targeted at unemployed graduates and underemployed graduates. So we are working on a mentoring aspect, building the character, creating that awareness for them, helping them with skills and tools that they would require to find a good job, creating that networking environment as well. We work with mentors and professionals to come in and assist with this. So this is really the reason why Iconic Nigeria started out the graduate workshop.
All right, thank you very much, Chiduru. Let's bring in now Andrew Nevin. Andrew Nevin, fill us in with regard to the content of the workshop, how long it takes.
Well, I think just to echo what she said, let's just start with some of the numbers around this. I mean, we need to create 4 million jobs a year in Nigeria. If we're going to reduce unemployment, reduce poverty, we need to create 1.1 million jobs in Nigeria. And the economy is not doing well enough. And we just had the piece, you had an excellent piece about the political situation in Nigeria, but 30 minutes, not one time was mentioned this economic reality. We've got poor in 2015, we got poor in 2016, we got poor in 2017, we got poor in 2018, we're going to be poor in 2019, 2020, the way we're going right now. So anything that can help the economy work better is welcome. And on the graduate side on Iconic, I mean, as she said, I mean, the thing is, a university education doesn't necessarily prepare you right away to be employed in a company or in a government organization. So you need to have the mentoring, you need a series of workshops, you need someone that you can go talk to, what it's like in a professional environment, help you not make those mistakes as you go through that, be able to present yourself in an interview, what's important to the recruiter. We're one of the largest graduate hirers in the country at PwC. We hire about 130 new young graduates a year. We start with about 10,000, so it's obviously very competitive. So anything that can help the graduates be better prepared to do that is extremely helpful for the country.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go to Port Harcourt, where we have Ibrahim. Ibrahim, you participated in the graduate workshop. What did you learn? And in any way, what you have learned, has it helped you, or did it help you secure an employment?
Yeah, the graduate workshop turned out to be a very fantastic program for me. Initially, when I registered for the program, I thought it was just going to be the regular workshops that I've been attending, but on getting to the event, I was completely blown away by the fantastic organization of the program. So I was able to meet one-on-one with top industrial experts, and we discussed extensively on the key skills that are needed to survive in Nigeria's competitive climate. People like Andrew Nevin were able to condense and organize a very effective lecture on the state of economy in Nigeria, and after the Andrew Nevin lecture, we moved straight to a career mentorship session where we were able to meet with top experts. And along the line, I was able to meet with one of the CEOs of top company, and from there I got a job. Now, a lot of things that I learned in the workshop that they are currently helping me in my current job. And I have the Iconic Nigeria team to thank for it. And I would like to tell them to keep on doing the nice job.
All right, Ibrahim, thank you. Let's return to Lagos. The question is still going to Andrew Nevin. Andrew, give us a sense of what you encounter if you say you're dealing with thousands of potential job applicants through PwC. What are the obvious gaps that you find, either in terms of the skills that they have and what industry needs?
Well, I think the big issue we see to begin with is someone presents themselves in a way that's not optimal. So if you send in a resume, it's not formatted properly, it doesn't, it has a spelling mistake. We find many resumes that have spelling mistakes. That's red flags right away. How are you taking care to present your brand? Then when you bring someone in and you speak with them, do they have an effective way to present themselves? You ask them to introduce themselves. Do they have a logical, coherent way of doing it? And of course, that's an indication of whether their thinking processes are working properly. And then I think the other issue is, can they integrate? You've been in an education system. It's a little bit informal, the way you dress, the way you interact. You now come into a work environment. You might have done very well at school, but the truth is the CEO has 30 years experience, the VPs have 25 years experience. How do you integrate into that system so that you give your contribution, but you're also respectful of that? And of course, we have such an informal culture now and social media, et cetera, that that's often difficult for them. So the ones that help figure that out, and the kinds of things Iconic is doing in these workshops to focus on those issues, helps with that. But begin with the way you present yourself, the way you write, the way you express yourself. It's for a professional environment now. It's not for a student environment. It's not for a party environment. It's for a company that's trying to do serious things for its clients.
Andrew, thanks a lot. Chiduru, let me pull this question to you. Obviously, some of the things that Andrew just talked about are the so-called soft skills that you did or a potential applicant requires to survive, get into, and then get ahead in a job environment. From the curriculum that you have in the institutions of higher learning, are these gaps being filled, or perhaps there's too much emphasis on just academic knowledge?
I can say for a fact, at least from my own personal experience, I don't think I ever did any soft skills training while at the university here. And when I speak to other graduates, I don't have that feedback from them as well, which was why it was a key aspect of the workshop structure. And based on the feedback we got from some of the graduates that came in for the workshop, most of them were really like saying, oh, they wish they had this training or experience while in the university. And so although this first workshop was done particularly for unemployed graduates or underemployed graduates, we've taken that feedback and we've started speaking to partners and other stakeholders about the possibility of deploying this workshop to universities. So that's something that is very much in works now, and that should come up in hopefully from 2019. So yeah, no, we don't have this soft skills training at all. Universities, we are mostly focused on the technical aspects, of which even the technical aspect is not the best. I mean, we are dealing with obsolete textbooks, we are dealing with obsolete materials, lack of technology to move us forward in this technological era. So there's a lot lacking in the universities. That doesn't mean they're not trying, and the whole purpose of this is not to condemn, but it's just to observe and identify the gaps. And like you rightly said at the beginning, we all collectively can help, and that's what we're trying to do, to see how we can help and support the universities going forward.
All right, thank you very much, Chiduru Okan. Let's go to Port Harcourt now, where we still have Ibrahim. Ibrahim, what motivated you to participate in this workshop? Because over time, a lot of workshops like this have been held for unemployed graduates, or even, graduates who are employed, just to enhance their skills. But a lot of youth still wait without exploring such opportunities. Why is it that we have a large number of youths not taking advantage of these opportunities? And for you, how did you hear about it? What motivated you to also be a part of it?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I came to know about the workshop on my LinkedIn while I was scrolling through my LinkedIn, and the main motivating factor for me to take part in this workshop is that after getting to know about it, I made some inquiries about the Iconic Nigeria group and the aim of this workshop. I realized that attending such a workshop would mean a lot to me. It would assist me acquire the exact the things that are needed to survive as an undergraduate and to possibly get a job. So I'm someone who believes that from workshops, as an unemployed graduate, you stand. There are a lot of things that you don't know yet. So I look at the list of guests that are invited. We have Andrew Nevins from PwC, who was there to discuss economy. We have other people like Ebele Enumwa, a retail trader who is a CEO of Sundry Market, and the likes of other industrial experts. So I believe that these people that the iconic Nigeria are bringing down to this workshop are going to be able to deliver very fantastically on the things that are needed by the graduates. So another reason I decided to attend the workshop is because of the possibility to make connections with top industrial experts. And at the end of the day, I was able to achieve these aims and even more because I was able to meet with top people and I learned a great deal of information about what is needed to survive in these Nigeria's competitive climate. So.
Ibrahim, still with you in our Port Harcourt Network Center, you said Nigeria's competitive environment. Thanks a lot. Let me ask you, what goes on in the mind of your contemporaries, say when you were on campus, and then when you now needed to make the transition into the job environment, and then the jobs are not coming? I hear a number of young persons complain, ab initio, to say, look, in Nigeria, nothing works, nothing is going to work. They have a virtually hopeless disposition. Is that something that they carry into an environment where otherwise they could potentially be engaged if they go through, say, a graduate workshop like this that exposes them to the kind of soft skills that they will require to have a break-in and then survive? What goes on in the mind of a young person?
Okay, my experience with Nigerian youth is that there is this general belief that there is unemployment in the country and that it is really difficult to get a job. It's either you have a connection or just basically connection. But the truth is that contrary to the general belief, it is not that really bad. What I believe is the Nigeria's unemployment situation is not really bad. I mean, if you have what it takes to secure a good job, of course, you are going to get a good job. So, and like you said, like one of the speakers said, most Nigerian graduates lack the soft skills that are needed to excel in organizations. And these are the things that were not taught to us back in school. So I would rather urge that our economy, our education system starts looking into these aspects of trying to blend the undergraduates into knowing the major skills that are required. I mean, we are just being taught the technical skills in schools, but these days, there's now globalization of world economy. Things are moving faster, and I mean, those technical skills will not be enough anymore. You need soft skills. You need to be able to exhibit some leadership skills, some excellent communication skills. So again, it's not as if there is no job or there is unemployment, because people still get jobs every single day. So it is more about our individual belief. To me, I believe there is a job, and if you have what it takes, you'll definitely be able to secure a good job.
Ibrahim, thank you very much. Let's go to Lagos now very quickly, where we have Duru Chi Okan. I'm aware that NTA is also partnering with your organization. I just want to... Ochan, I just wanted to find out from you also too, in what way has our partnership with you, that is NTA, contributed to your success that you've had this year in your graduate program?
Yes, that's it's quite good to note that. So I contacted NTA, wrote to them, and I was really quite surprised when the letter was acknowledged and returned, and eventually this partnership became a reality. NTA was very instrumental in creating that widespread awareness of this workshop across Nigeria. So we had graduates, unemployed graduates registering from across all regions, south, east, west, and north. We had graduates coming in from Katsina, those coming in from Port Harcourt, Enugu. So it was really, the NTA was really instrumental in making sure we're able to give all graduates across Nigeria an equal platform to know that such a workshop was going on. And if you don't mind, in addition to NTA, we had other partners as well. We had Push CV, which was it was one of the companies that helped us with validating and screening of the graduates that we eventually invited. And we had, of course, the speakers that we wrote to. We contacted them on LinkedIn. Most of them didn't even know us or know what we're about. But the moment they knew what we were trying to do and they believed in that cause, people like Andrew Nevin, we had Sten Herzberg from Isle of Foods. We even had one of the NNPC directors, Dr. Victor Adesonia from NNPC, who was one of our speakers. So we had so many professionals and seasoned experts that came in, and of course we would not have been able to achieve all this without the support and partnership from NTA, which we are very grateful for. And hopefully for 2019, and to ensure continuity going forward, we're hoping that with this opportunity, talking about it, creating awareness of what we're trying to do, we can get other partners, corporate partners from companies come on board with us. Because at this moment, we didn't have any corporate partners. This was all done individually. We know that we'll be able to do more if we have the support from corporate partners, not just for funding, but even to be available on site to help with that interaction and networking. And then, of course, with the mentoring, to get partnership with universities. So there's a lot we are looking at going forward for 2019, and I don't think we would be talking about such continuity without the invaluable partnership with NTA. So thank you very much for this wonderful privilege.
Right, Chiduru, thanks a lot. Let's get also the closing thoughts now, as it were, of Andrew Nevin. Andrew, again, I'd like to ask this. We have seen the reforms in the program content in our universities over the years. General studies have been introduced. There's, of course, a compulsory use of English, and you need English language to gain admission in the first instance, IT literacy, and entrepreneurial studies. From your interactions, are these sufficient? Are they necessary? Are they complementary to the finishing program that the graduate workshop represents?
Well, I think there's a much better understanding of what's required for the work world. And the truth is, when I graduated back in 1980 from university, I didn't have any soft skills to be able to operate, but the economy was very different. It was very easy to get a job. You trained at the company, and that's what happened to me. I think it's a more competitive environment. Nigeria is a difficult environment. So the more we can get these soft skills in students thinking about them at university. But as Chi said, we're not going to be too hard on the universities. They actually have made huge progress. People understand the importance of IT. They actually do understand, I think, the importance of soft skills. We're seeing some progress there. So I think it's a positive story. But I think the one thing I'd add, though, is I think in this country sometimes we talk about economic development in terms of SMEs. But the truth is that the most development in your early stage of career takes shape in a more structured environment. And we need big companies with big graduate programs, and it really makes a difference. If I go back in the history of Nigeria, the impact that Citi has had on this nation is phenomenal. I meet so many people who were trained at Citi, how to do it the Citi way, and they've gone on to do very big things. So we need people like PwC, we need people like KPMG, EY, Deloitte, but Unilever, the banks in this country, the telecoms, They need to thrive. We need big companies to thrive that will take big graduate programs and make a difference to this issue. Not every graduate should be going out to be an entrepreneur. Not every graduate should go out to be an SME where you don't necessarily learn all of these soft skills. So big companies can make a huge difference in this area.
All right, Andrew Nevin, partner and chief economist, financial services advisory leader at PwC, would like to appreciate you for being on Good Morning Nigeria today, along with Chiduru Ochan, who is chief editor at Conic Nigeria. Thanks a lot for being on Good Morning Nigeria. You joined us from our Lagos Network studios. And appreciation also to Ibrahim Iyonda. Iyonda participated in the graduate workshop program, and he spoke to us from Port Harcourt. Ibrahim, best of luck.
All right, time now for us to join our sports desk for some sports news.